Hi guys, this is Parag here. Welcome back on Stay Strong podcast. We have Pete from UK. Over to you, Pete. Please introduce yourself, your background, your sports background, and how do you got into kettlebell sport.
Right, hello, Parag, and thank you very much for inviting me onto your podcast. My background, well, at the moment, I'm 61.
Okay.
So I started off. I did 6 years in the military, and then I did 30 years in the Her Majesty's Prison Service, or His Majesty's Prison Service now. Retired from that. I'm currently working as a psychotherapist.
Okay.
My sports background is I've always tried to keep fit. Initially, around about 2000, I always used to run, but around about the year 2000, I started dipping my toe into triathlon, and I carried on doing that. So I completed numerous triathlons, including 6 Ironman
Yeah.
distances, and then basically I got a little bit bored with it, to be fair. And it was in around 2007, just after that, I did my last one. And of all places, I was in Amsterdam, and I was in a bookshop there, and they had a book called The Russian Kettlebell Challenge
Okay.
by a guy called Pavel Satsulin, who I'm sure you've heard of.
Yes.
And I bought it and got interested in it, and that kind of led me to start training with kettlebells. So subsequently, I kind of followed the hard style with Pavel. Ended up doing what was the Strong First Level 1 kettlebell instructor, Strong First Level 2. And whilst I was on my recertification for Level 2, I met a guy from Ireland called Finbar Toolan.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever come across him, but he's renowned in Ireland for kettlebell sport.
Okay.
And I just got talking to him about it, and I said, "Oh, I really fancy having a go at this." And he said, "Well, give it a go, see how you get on." And it kind of went on from there. So I went away and I did my IKFF certification,
Okay.
and it was through a guy called Mike Eves who ran that. He put me in touch with the Kettlebell Sport Hangout,
Okay.
which is located in Harrogate, where a lot of our good lifters come from. So Tracy Howson, who I'm sure you know,
Yes.
Chris Gall. And I ended up there, and I got involved. I did my first sporting event with them was snatch. I did that, probably about 3 years ago now,
Okay. Okay.
and I
Okay.
did okay with that. And that's where I find myself. So
Okay. Okay. So that's how you get started.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So you had any fitness background? You're 61. So 20 years back, did you do any sports in your school, in your
Yes.
college? How was it? If you can just
Not particularly in school or college.
okay.
I basically started, I guess, physical training when I was in the military, and
Okay.
it kind of became a bit of a habit that I kind of stuck with. So I've always tried to do something. And like I say, that led me to triathlon, and then triathlon moved me to hardstyle kettlebells,
Okay.
and now sport kettlebells.
Okay, so can you give us a little bit background about military? What was your work exactly, and how many years you were there in the military? It was UK or which country?
No, it was UK. It
UK.
was
Okay.
a unit called the Royal Air Force Regiment, and basically they operate as infantry.
Okay.
So there was a lot of physical training involved with that, certainly to pass the course and bits and pieces like that. During that time, like I say, I got really interested in running,
Okay.
and I completed a lot of running races, half marathons, bits and pieces like that,
Okay.
uh, and kind of had the bug. So I never really stopped. Even when I came out and joined the prison service, I kind of carried on with it.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So you get started with the kettlebell sports straight away because you had a background of a hard style programs,
Yeah.
or did you took some formal training of the kettlebell sport like the soft style training program, practice for a years, months together, and then got into the sport? If you can just
Not
give a little
really,
bit background,
no,
no?
no. Like I say, I did my IKFF, which was founded by Steve Cotter,
Yeah.
who I'm sure you're aware of, and,
Yeah.
and that was my first introduction, kind of, to sport and the softer style.
Okay.
I did that, and because my jerk technique wasn't particularly good, my long cycle technique wasn't particularly good. When I got involved with the Kettlebell Sport Hangout, the first competition I went into was literally snatch, because for
Okay.
me, I could use a bit of hard style really for a snatch. And so I travelled up to Harrogate, competed in their open competition, did well, and kind of got the bug from there. So then I started training with them,
Okay.
and getting more into the intricacies of it, around
Yes.
kind of jerk, so on and so forth.
Okay. So the snatch was with 20, 24 kilograms. How was your first
Snatch
competition?
My first competition, I did snatch with 16.
Okay.
Then to qualify for the English team, I did snatch with a 24.
Okay. Okay. And that was which year, Pete?
What was that? That was not. That was last year, actually. So that must have been in, because it was the World Championship in Hungary, and I qualified for Hungary last year in February. So yeah, last February.
Okay. So it's like what, 2 years, 3 years you're into kettlebell sport? How many years you are into kettlebell sport?
Just coming on for 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how is the journey so far, Pete, in comparison with what you are doing with your art style programs? Like the technique is different. This is little
Yeah.
relaxed. That's like little different, more strength work. So if you can just share your experience on that.
It took me, and it still is, to be fair, taking me. I've tried it very hard at times to lose that hard style focus, and to get that relaxation and the more flowing movements. And I still struggle with that, to be honest with you. And I'm still work in progress, as I think we all are.
Okay.
The hardest one that I found certainly was doing the jerk.
Okay.
But that, like I say, I've been doing that now for on and on. Well, for nearly 3 years. It's only just start to feel like I'm getting to grips with it, like it's starting to click, and I'm
Okay.
getting a reasonable rhythm and a reasonable kind of reps per minute with it.
Okay. Okay. I understand. So you started with 16 kg. You lifted 24 kg to qualify. Now, at this point in time, after 3 years, are you still lifting 24, or you moved on to 28 or 32s?
No. Because I'm over 60.
Okay.
I only have to compete with 16s now. So I've gone
Okay.
back to kind of just for competition training, just training with the 16s. I do some work with the 24s, 28s, the occasional 32, just a little bit of technique work, strength work, so on and so forth. But predominantly, I now train with the 16s.
16s. Okay. Okay. Now, as you practice, how does your practice regime look like? In the sense, like, do you practice 3 times a week, 4 times a week? Do you include strength training in your programs? Do you include specifically cardio in your program, like running or swimming or something like that? If you can just give me a highlight of the complete week's program, how does it look at this age?
Well, at the moment, I train kettlebells 4 times a week, and that consists of one day doing snatch, 2 days doing jerk, and one day doing one arm long cycle, because I also compete in the half marathon for that.
Okay.
I try and do a little bit of strength training outside of that, mainly push-ups and bits and pieces like that, squats,
Okay.
and occasionally, I should do it a lot more, but occasionally I'll do some cardio in the form of a run. But yeah, it's I'm finding that I guess the 4 days a week just about covers it for me. If anything else I can get in, it's a bit of a bonus. I know I should be doing a little bit more, but I'm not.
Okay. So mainly your training consists of kettlebell training, or do you include barbell like squats, military press, like bench press or something like that?
No, it's mainly kettlebell work, and any strength training that I do post the sport training is done again with kettlebells.
Okay.
So that'll
Okay.
be military press, chest press, rows, stuff like
Okay.
that, but with bells rather than dumbbells or barbells.
Okay, okay, okay. Now, it's been to be honest, it's been a very short time. It's like, close to 3 years you're lifting kettlebells.
Mm.
Like in the sense, in the sports style.
Yeah.
What is your biggest challenge when you're lifting kettlebells? When it comes to competition preparation, like say, for example, in 2 weeks we are going to Poland.
Yeah.
And what is your biggest challenge? Whether it is a physical challenge or whether it is a mental challenge which you have to face while you are getting into the competition mode?
I think for me, my two biggest challenges, one is technique,
Okay.
because I need my technique still isn't where it should be, I feel, and mentally, it's about conquering that kind of mental component that as soon as you know you're going to go into a 10-minute set, the brain starts kind of working against you a little bit, and so that's I do find that quite hard. But like I say, things are beginning to click a little bit. It's just now for me, because I'm not having to increase the weights. I find now that it's just about, like I say, refining the technique, streamlining the technique to a certain extent. But the main thing, I guess, is just getting over that mental barrier, because I'm sure you know yourself. As soon as you get onto the podium, onto the platform, the brain starts talking to you, and sometimes visibly negative.
Yes, yes. So, Pete, how do you deal with it? I mean, this might be your second or third competition as far as the bigger competition is concerned. Then, how do you deal with this? Do you have a coach who basically mentors you to stay very calm, or do you have any other therapy which basically allow you to be calm when you're going to competition? How do you deal with these challenges of mental before going to the
Right.
competitions?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I've got two coaches. So I've got Chris Gall and Tracy Howson,
Okay,
who are exceptional.
okay,
Chris particularly is always, when I go through a set, telling me to kind of relax, calm down, get the breathing right, slow everything up, you know, so on and so forth. I do have an active breathwork practice that I try and do daily, which I find really helps me to kind of control like nerves and anxiety and bits and pieces like that
so
for going to the
breathwork,
platform.
sorry to interrupt you. Breathwork means you're talking about meditation or talking about some kind of a like a heavy breathwork? What exactly it is?
I do a practice known as coherent breathing, which is basically you after a period of practice, obviously you get your breaths down to about 5 per minute, and that really helps in balancing the autonomic nervous system. So
Okay,
what I'm looking for, obviously, when I get onto the platform, I need that sympathetic response from the
okay,
nervous system to have to lift the bells, but I also want a little bit of that parasympathetic component just to calm me down and keep me calm through the set.
okay, okay. I understand. So, what is the duration of this practice when you're doing any kind of a breathwork per
Uh,
day, or it's like do you do every day?
yeah, I'll try and get in 20 minutes of breath work every day.
Okay, okay, okay. I understand. Okay, wow. And simultaneously, when you're doing everything, how is your nutrition look like? I mean, are you vegetarian, non-vegetarian at this age? How much, what is the frequency of the meal you have, and what is the content you have? Like, are you having like more fat content, more carb content? How does that look like when it comes to your nutrition?
Right, well, predominantly, I try and ensure that I have a good protein content.
Okay.
My diet isn't as clean as perhaps what it should be, but I try and maintain the fact that I did get, especially I think as you get older, it's important to ensure that you get a good amount of protein into the system, and that's what I try and do really. So yeah,
Okay.
certainly meat, fish, eggs, not so much dairy,
Okay.
but predominantly eating three times a day. I've tried all the different intermittent fasting and bits and pieces like that, but I generally just go back to the 3 meals a day, to be honest.
Okay, okay. So, so you have 3 meals per day, but it comprises of like it might have eggs. Do you eat chicken, or what is predominantly like? Do you have fish or chicken, or are you
It's
like beef, pork eater?
predominantly chicken, to be
Acha.
honest with you. Predominantly chicken. I occasionally have beef and pork. I have fish on sometimes, and I eat a lot of eggs.
Okay, okay, okay. I understand. Okay. Cool. Now, do you have any negative experience in this past couple of years while training for the snatch, or maybe if you're doing a long cycle? If you have any kind of a negative experience with kettlebell training, because generally speaking, if you compare it with the hard style, in the soft style, we do more repetition. So
Mm,
our sets last more longer in comparison
yeah.
what the hard style does. So if you're doing any kind of a repetitive exercise, has he given you any kind of a negative impact at this age? How do you deal with it?
No, not particularly, to be fair. I think in many respects I've been quite lucky with that. One of the things I did find when I first started doing sport, certainly with the swing,
Okay,
was I found because my technique wasn't quite where it needed to be, that I was getting some lower back issues at one point. But as soon as my technique cleared up, that kind of went. And I don't particularly get any like repetitive kind of strain injuries or anything like that, luckily at the moment. So injury wise, yeah, I've been fairly lucky with that. I've been managed to avoid
okay.
any injuries that would put me out of action.
Okay, okay. So you have not got any kind of injuries or negative experience as far as kettlebell is concerned. Okay, that's super nice. How about your recovery? I mean, do you take any supplementation for recovery? Like, for example, glutamine or some kind of supplementation, like maybe vitamins or anything. If you add on to your programs, is there anything as such?
No, to be honest with you, I've looked into it, glucosamine, fish oils and bits and pieces
Yes,
like
yes,
that,
yes,
but
yes,
it's been a
yes.
bit of a like a dip in and dip out. I don't do anything kind of consistently around that, to be honest with you. I think in terms of recovery, one thing I did fail to mention is that I'm a yoga teacher as well,
Okay.
and for recovery, I tend that's my recovery. So I
Okay.
find that if I do a heavy kettlebell session, then what I tend to do afterwards or the next day is do at least 30 minutes of yoga just to kind of just to stretch out and keep kind of supple.
Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, that's really nice because generally the lifters, kettlebell sport lifters or strengthening, they're not much into yoga. I mean, they
Mm,
might want to do stretching, but yoga is a complete different training program
yeah.
altogether. You have to invest time in that. So that's really nice ad for the viewers who are basically doing a very hard strengthening. If they can add yoga, it will basically help them into the recovery. That's really nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. So you've been training with the coach, right? Have you ever tried to train without the coach? If yes, how was your
Yes.
experience?
Yes. Not for the sport. I haven't. Well, initially I did for the sport, but when I was doing hard style, I basically trained myself from the get-go. I learnt the basics of kettlebell from Satsulin's book, Enter the Kettlebell, and that's where I learned. And I did all my own kind of training up until I did my first certification with Strong First.
Yes.
And then even after that, I always kind of coached myself and did that. It was only when I initially started training myself for the sport and realised that the nuances
Okay.
were too. I needed someone who could point me in the right direction for it. You know, as much as looking at videos, as much as reading books, it's not the same as having a coach who can kind of actually almost put hands on and say, no, this is where this, this is where you need to be resting your elbows for the jerk. This is how you should be breathing. This is, so on and so forth. And I think for the sport, there's no real substitute for that. If you want to get into the sport, if you want to use kettlebells for just keeping fit,
Uh-huh.
then I think there's a lot of opportunities to do that without having to resort to a coach. But I think certainly for the sport, for competitions, yeah, I think
Okay.
it's absolutely essential.
Okay. Okay. How has kettlebells helped you in your day-to-day living, your day-to-day work? Like, for example, uh, uh, how was your day-to-day work giving you the stress 5 years back? And how is the day-to-day work now, including the kettlebell training in your
Yeah.
program, has either reduced or how do you feel about it?
Well, at the moment, I mean, 5 years ago, I just left the prison service, which was highly stressful.
Okay.
And again, I think I used my training in a lot of ways to kind of to ease that stress, as it were. It was a bit of a stress release for me. At the moment, I find that just the use of kettlebells is that, and I think it's a testament to your age as well, because I think at 61, and I know of other people, certainly within the English team and the international teams, who are an older generation, as it were. And I think it's great. We're still strong. We're still active. We're still useful, for want of a better word. And I'm sure you see this as well. People who don't tend to train or do anything that's kind of active as they get older, they become more immobile. They become quite weak. And I think for me, kettlebells has really bells and the yoga to a certain extent, but has been a real kind of pushback against that.
Okay.
And kind of, without I suppose blowing my own trumpet, and I'm sure you see it as well. I'm a lot stronger in many ways than some of the people who are half my age that I come into contact with,
Okay.
and that's
Okay.
through the bells.
Okay. 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 It's nice. Okay. Super. You've been competing in marathon as well as classic or only classic, like 10-minute events, or I've been doing 30-minute marathon as well.
I've been doing 30-minute marathon as well, and I only started that. My first competition with that was in August last year, but I generally was sticking with the GS, like the 10-minute
10 minute.
jerk and snatch, so biathlon.
Yes.
So I'm due to do biathlon again in Poland and a 30-minute one-arm long cycle.
Okay. So, but earlier you're doing both, right? You're doing
Yeah,
marathon as well as the GS, the
yeah.
standard 10-minute classic. So, can you please tell us your best lifting records, whether it is a national or whether it is international? Like in
Right,
both, in GS as well as in your marathon.
right. Okay. I don't hold any records with the marathoners yet, with the half marathoners yet, but certainly for GS, I hold 2 UK records, one for the snatch in my age group and weight, and one for biathlon. And I've just broken with my events of Paris. I've just broken the jerk record for that as well. I'm just waiting for that to be ratified. And I also hold 2 WKSF world records
Okay.
for jerk and snatch.
Okay. So, can you please tell us like what are the numbers if you can remember? Like,
Right, my numbers for certainly for just breaking the record recently, I got 119 jerks with 216s in 10 minutes, and what was it, 217 snatches in
okay.
10 minutes with a 16.
Okay. Okay. And anything in marathon?
No, no, not yet. I'm still battling to get my numbers up there. I'm hoping that in Poland I can kind of produce something and give them a run for their money.
Yes. Okay. So what is you're looking forward to do in Poland? One-on long cycle?
Yeah, I've got like I say, I'm doing biathlon and one-arm long cycle. I'd like to. I think the current record for long cycle in my age group is 336, something like that. So I'm looking if I can, if I can to break that record to try and get around
So with
340,
with what
360.
weight? What weight?
Sorry, with
What
a
is
16,
with the
with a
16
16.
kilos? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Wish you good luck for that.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Great. Great. Super. Great. So if you can, Pete, give a message to the viewers who are lifting kettlebells above 50 in India and how
Yeah.
they can get started, and in general advice from your side.
Right. Again, I would say I've dabbled in a lot of different resistance, kind of using different resistance equipment, barbells, dumbbells, so on and so forth. I think without being cliche, the kettlebell is probably the greatest tool you'll ever come across because it's all there in a very compact tool. You can use it for many different things. You can use it for cardio, you can use it for strength. It's an all-encompassing kind of tool, I think. And I would encourage people to kind of take it up if they can. They don't have to obviously go into competitions or do anything seriously with it, but I think just to start, especially as you get a bit older, I think it's vital that a lot of the research and a lot of things that I've read have said that, you know, as we do get older, the things we need to do, the biggest thing we need to do for ourselves is some sort of resistance training.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think the kettlebell absolutely provides that. So I would encourage that. And then I think once people get into that, depending on how it goes for them, then they might think, oh, do you know what? Let's see how we go in a 10-minute set and kind of move on from there. But
Okay.
I've never looked back. I've never regretted my time with kettlebells in any way, shape, or form. I think they're absolutely brilliant. I only wish I'd found them earlier.
Okay, okay, interesting. That's a very good advice actually, because generally what happens is people would want to get into the competition first rather than checking their own fitness. So
Yeah,
this is really a good step-by-step approach towards getting into the 10-minute event first and then getting into the 30-minute event. So
yeah.
that's really nice. Super. Cool. Thank you, Pete, for your time. It was wonderful speaking with you. A good
My pleasure.
advice,
Thank
and
you for
yeah,
inviting me.
yeah. And I wish you good luck for the upcoming competitions.
Thank you. And same to you.
Yes. Thank you.